Do you find yourself looking for good gift ideas? Well, if your significant other happens to be of the maid variety, this sure will be relevant to them. Have you ever placed a screen protector on a 3DS or phone or calculator? The little dots that get stuck under there? That's dust. And have you ever found yourself in a dark room with a beautiful ray of light and dancing fairy particles within? That's actually dust. And have you ever been to a library previously lost to mankind during the Age of Dragons? The material you're turned into after being cursed to death is dust. And this game is about sweeping it.
The massive popularity contest-driven nation that is indie gaming has an entire warehouse full of platforming games, and most of them are pretty quickly swept into obscurity. Somehow, Dustforce managed to avoid permanent residence under a rug, but it's not on a podium with games like N+ or Super Meat Boy. While all different in one way or another, these games all feature a demand of platforming perfection, so why aren't they all equals?
Now there is a reason, and I'll impart it to you by virtue of my amazing altruistic nature, but first I feel there might be a bit of a question about why there are people sliding around on ceilings and walls and sweeping shit up, so I figure I'll address that first. 456 Segway Lane.
Dustforce caught me off guard when I first saw it, so when it came out, I passed it up. The intro almost made it seem like a Saturday morning cartoon about a maid service which fought dirty home invaders.
Actually, that sounds kind of awesome. I have no idea why I didn't just buy that immediately.
Sometime after, a friend bought it for me, so I gave it a shot only to realize it wasn't a germophobic beat-em-up, it was a meticulous, momentum-filled platformer. And a damn good one at that. The whole game is broken up into 4s. For some reason, you choose from 4 different super sweepers to clean 4 different locations by running up and sliding along surfaces in 4 different directions.
Because the only directions that really matter are the cardinal directions.
No matter which character you pick or where you go, you'll be running up and down, literally, sweeping up various forms of mess and rescuing objects and creatures possessed by all the garbage. Literally. Chaining your cleaning sprees together keeps your combo up, and keeping your combo up contributes to your finesse score at the end of each level. Your completion score as well as your time are also tracked, so you've got a pretty simple goal in mind as you broom the shit out of places. Not quite as literally.
Yes, okay, it's not quite the newest idea to have a character who jumps to a place and gets rid of things, or perhaps collects things, but this is about dust, and it's the nature of dust and its removal that makes this game so intriguing. Yes, dust and sweeping is intriguing. Just trust me.
The game's controls are a little unique, and as such, so is this whole sweeping business. Because dust is often resting on a surface, the game has to have mechanics which allow you to quickly deal with surfaces. The game uses directional inputs to slide up walls rather than having a wall run button or a run button in general. This same idea is used to adhere to and slide along ceilings.
Because cleaning your ceiling clearly requires that you defy fucking gravity.
Along with skidding across all manner of dusty flatness, you've also got to clean all the possessed stuff. Things like bears and tires and treasure chests and scientists. Unlike many platforming games which allow you to extend jumps by jumping on enemies' heads, Dustforce simply requires that you clean them. Slamming the shit out of a leaf-infested bird will net you a second jump or dash and allow you to keep your momentum going.
I like to think of it as pole vaulting mid-air off of a bird with a broom.
Hit an enemy with light attacks and you can extend your jump a bit, but nail them with a heavy attack and not only will you continue to drift, you'll also curt surfaces behind the blast in dust. This can be used to extend combos or refill the super gauge. A full super gauge means you can do this amazing ninja status area attack. Sometimes you can use these attacks to skip annoying segments, or you can use them to cap off a level with some stylish sweeper flair.
How each level is set up is very purposeful. Due to the way that you move up and along walls and ceilings makes it so every decision that you make as a player is something that the developers have to consider. There's really not a lot of room for happenstance. So what that means is, with this meticulous design, we have levels that really stick with you.
Like the aforementioned Super Meat Boy and Co., Dustforce is a platformer for platforming's sake. There's no story or really any characters, though there are some secrets to be found, so the focus is on finding and completing the levels. There are a little over 50 levels and they all must be found within the 4 hub worlds. The game's main menu is a nexus, which is attached to the 4 hub worlds.
Shall I take you on a tour?
Here on the bottom left, you have the mansion, a dusty relic of a gargantuan house complete with butlers and musky libraries. Here to the bottom right, you have the forest, which is a forest, and frankly, I'm not quite sure how you intend to clean an entire forest. Over on the top right is the city, a not-so-bustling display of emptiness, begging the question, who left all the garbage? Finally, on the top left is the laboratory, a pristine and angular space tainted with a bit of science gone awry.
This concludes the tour portion of the video. If you didn't like it, there are no refunds, seeing as you didn't spend any money. Prick.
Each of the levels correspond to different parts of their greater location. Some city levels take place underground, whereas some take place far above it, for instance. That thematic level design coupled with a beautiful soundtrack which mixes soft ambience and cheerful melodies helps solidify the Dustforce experience in your mind.
But, like many a beautiful face, there's some real tough shit going on behind all the beautiful presentation of a level in Dustforce. Just be careful, once you become close friends, it might get a little intense.
The way a level looks in Dustforce is prominent and can be captivating on its own, but the design of each level is what will eventually grab you. Every level you enjoy will leave you thinking you could easily try that again later for a better score or time. Upon completing the free levels, you'll gain silver keys which unlock medium levels, which, once completed, will give you gold keys to unlock hard levels. Now, those are the levels where, if you complete one, you're never gonna forget it.
That reason I mentioned why the game simply isn't the greatest game ever, it's a combination of a few things, but essentially, some of the levels are too large or too long to be understood on the fly without a lot of failures, and some of those failures as a result of this will feel like you weren't given enough time to figure things out or respond.
I realized after playing the shit out of this game that the combination of directions and obstacles in each level must be solved before they can be perfectly executed. It's very helpful in games like this when either the entire level is visible from the start or the concepts are short enough or simple enough for you to figure them out pretty quickly as the level proceeds. There aren't a lot of wrenches thrown in the mix because it's frustrating to take success away from players who feel as though they'd figured out the level's challenge.
Also because throwing wrenches kinda isn't cool.
The solution to this issue in Dustforce is checkpoints. While this works well as a method to simply let you complete the level, you won't feel very accomplished if you do it that way.
It really doesn't help when you get bad grades in each of the score categories. It's like, hey, you sure did graduate high school, but my god, you're a fucking jackass.
Completing the levels gives you a bit of perspective on how to play them again on a second try, but ultimately, if you simply had a better idea what was in store, it'd feel a lot less punishing when you can't pass a certain part. There are even a few levels where you'll touch the ground maybe just a few times before completing it, making every new piece of the challenge jarring, and failing them becomes that much more frustrating. However, as you start to play the most difficult levels in Dustforce, you'll take an immense pride in the ones that you can beat. The payoff of smoothly traveling to a level rife with spikes or with a tough to find path is powerful, and it's why the game's difficulty is permissible, if not slightly flawed in execution.
Now, I don't think that the game should be any easier. I like it where it is right now in terms of difficulty, but I think it's a little overbearing to demand perfection from players who don't have a good overview of the level and they don't really know what they're getting into as they're going through it. That said, there is something quite helpful for players after they've completed a level.
There's a pretty thorough leaderboard system which shows your grades and your time in one neat little post. When there's someone you just can't seem to beat, and there will be because the top players of this game are fucking ridiculous, you can simply download their run of the level and watch it in its entirety. You can view the run of any person on any level you completed to see how they did it, down to the very stroke of the broom.
Ghost systems in platforming games or time trial games are nothing new, but in Dustforce, it's really helpful. It gives you that opportunity to see the whole level play through nice and quick. You get a way better idea of what to do with every little bit of the level and how to respond to it. It's something that you can't really figure out on the fly unless you're really fucking good.
Bearing all of that in mind, the moments where I look at Dustforce and think, man, you were just so close, are quite rare.
Usually I look at Dustforce and think, why isn't real cleaning this fucking awesome?
I love exploring the hubs, searching for levels and diving into them. Every time the level name pops up and shows I haven't played it, I'm pumped to try it out for a first time. When your momentum is strong in a level and you're hitting every ceiling slide and darting from enemy to enemy, it's difficult not to get swept up in Dustforce's pace. Even when I'm getting frustrated at a certain part, it feels like there's always another level I can go find and try or replay. Dustforce isn't just a single player game though, it's got a multiplayer component, complete with a King of the Hill and survival mode. Unfortunately, I haven't gotten a chance to play it with anyone yet, so I won't be speaking on it. Being able to play as dirty bad guy villains is an enticing idea though.
Dustforce is a fantastic game. I absolutely love it. I love playing through all the levels over and over in some cases. I love trying the new ones and getting that really tough challenge of trying to perfect the level. It's really thick here. Unfortunately, I think that hard turn towards platforming perfection kind of hurts the game in the long run, but that very idea of what makes every single level so unique and so intricate is what makes the game so great. So without that difficulty and a little bit of stress, it really wouldn't be as amazing as it is. Even with all the awesome presentation, the idea of dust and cleanliness, and god damn it, this fucking platforming game is about cleaning. It's about cleaning. It's a game about... It's about cleaning. And it's great. I'm done.